of Zoho Inventory. So since we actually lost a little bit of time due to connectivity issues and such, I'm going to take a slightly unique approach to addressing the purchase as well as the sales module. In fact, I'm going to combine them, and I'm going to show you a proper back ordering workflow wherein you will see both sales and purchases. So you will see different parts of it, and then we are going to fulfill that particular order. So that's how we are going to see. So when it comes to back order, it starts with a sales order, and then you find out when drafting the sales order, you find out that you do not have enough stock, and then you place the order on back order, and then you actually send the list of items to a vendor, and the vendor will get the items ready for you. And the sales order on the meanwhile, the sales order would go into a frozen state, and when you receive the items into your warehouse from the vendor, then what happens is that the sales order will again be ready for fulfillment. So it will get unfrozen. So it would have been frozen while the items, while you did not have enough items to fulfill it. And once you receive all the items by creating a purchase receive, then the items are ready, and then you would be able to pack them and then ship them out. So the different parts of a back order is going to be such. So first you will have a sales order, and then you might also have an invoice. You might collect payments in advance. But then while sending the invoice or the order, you will let them know that the expected shipment date is such. And meanwhile, within Zoho Inventory, you would place the order. You will mark the order for back ordering. And once you do that, you will create a purchase order. You will email it to a vendor. And then when the goods reach your warehouse, you will create a purchase receive. And simultaneously, you can also record the vendor bill and such. And then once the items are in, the order would be unfrozen or open again. And you would be able to create a package or multiple packages even. And then you will be able to ship the items either individually or together. And once you have shipped the items, once you receive the invoice payment, you would be able to record the invoice payment. And likewise, you would also be able to record the payments that you have made to your vendor. So this is how it's going to be. All right, so we are going to continue, and we are going to show how this is. Okay, so before we move into the back order workflow, so this is what I have. So a typical purchase workflow inside of Zoho Inventory is going to be like this. So you have a draft purchase order, and when you email it to a vendor, then it becomes an issued purchase order. And then you have a couple of options. So you can either cancel the order, or you can just leave it as it is. And when the vendor ships out the item, and when the items reach your warehouse, then you create a purchase receive. And if you receive items partially, and if you have a purchase receive only for a couple of items and not for all the items, then in that case the purchase order will go to a partially received state. If you receive all the items, then it will be fully received. And then you can go about recording a bill or converting the purchase receive into a bill, and then your bill payment. So this is the steps. These are the steps when it comes to purchase workflow. And no, not that. Yeah. So when it comes to sales, these are the 4 pillars. So you have customers, orders and shipments, invoices and revenue, and then you have returns. And a typical sales workflow inside of Zoho Inventory is going to look like this. Of course, there is going to be some minor changes depending on your edition, especially if you are using the Indian edition, for example. You have something called as a delivery challan. So sometimes you might ship out the goods beforehand, and then you might send out the invoice later. In such cases, you can create a delivery challan, and you can convert that delivery challan into an invoice, and go about managing your GST. So that's just an example of certain differences with regards to the edition. But in general, irrespective of the edition you use, this is the flow. So you have a draft sales order, and then when you email it to a customer, it becomes confirmed, or you can also manually mark it as confirmed. And then you have a couple of options. So if you have stock, then you can pack it. You can create packages basically. You can also invoice them. and then you can ship the items out. And once the items get delivered, the sales order will go to a fulfilled state. And when you also have all the transactions, like you have an invoice, you have a package, a shipment, and the shipment is also delivered, when all the criterion is met, then it will go to a closed state. What happens when you don't have stock? So in that case, you can either put the sales order, the confirmed sales order, on back order, or you can go in for a drop shipment. So now, due to the time constraint, I'm going to demonstrate a back ordering workflow. And while I'm at it, I would show you the sales as well as the purchase workflow within Zoho Inventory in a single mesh. And later I'll also show you a drop shipment before moving on to integrations. All right. Okay. So this is how we are going to do this. So I'm going back into inventory. Now, before I do that, let me just quickly check my connectivity. Okay, my screen is visible. All right. So yeah, so I'm inside this particular organization. So I have, okay, I have to add customers, and I also need to add vendors because this is a brand new organization I just made right now. So I'm just going to quickly create a customer. So this is a UK based organization. So I would just, okay, so let me, so this is just a random customer. So don't mind the name. Okay, so I have that. So I have a customer, and then the VAT treatment is going to be, so this is going to be a person in the UK, but obviously it's an individual. So they are not VAT registered. So I've marked them as an individual, as you can see here, not VAT registered. The currency is here. So even for India, you have a very similar model, or even for the global edition, if you are using it. So you should specify whether a customer is a business or an individual. Because when you do business, like when you mention them as a business, you also have the ability to add something called as a contact person. Now, I have been training partners, and then I have come across this one question that, very new partners who have just begun onboarding into onboarding clients, or who are just trying out Zoho Inventory before they pitch this to clients, they have this confusion. So what is a contact or a customer, and then what is a contact person? Now, most of you, or a good chunk of you, must already be familiar with CRM. So in CRM, you have accounts, and then you have contacts, and then you also have vendors. So here, the same word is used in a little bit different way. So what happens inside Zoho Inventory is that your customer or your vendor is equivalent to an account. So the account in CRM is literally the customer inside Zoho Inventory. The vendor in CRM is going to be your vendor here. But on top of that, both vendors and customers inside of Zoho Inventory can have multiple contact persons under them. So if it's an organization or if it's a company, then you can have multiple people working in different departments, and you can be in touch with different people. So the contacts inside CRM literally is the equivalent of the contact persons inside of Zoho Inventory. So this is how it works. So, and you can email, you can choose the contact person, email, different contact people based on the order that you're sending out. So, but then there will always be a primary contact. And that primary contact is going to be the person, the display name right here, and the customer email address, and the details that you provide here. That person is going to be your primary contact. So this is how this works. So don't worry about it. So just remember it as this. Accounts in CRM is equal to customers in Zoho Inventory. Vendors in CRM is equal to vendors in Zoho Inventory. And similarly, contacts in CRM is equal to contact persons. The only difference, the extra bit, is that contact persons are available for both vendors and customers inside of Zoho Inventory. Because, let's face it, you could have a large manufacturer, and they could have different departments taking care of, or maybe multiple locations supplying different parts to you or different products to you. So you would be in touch with a person A for one item, and then person B for another item from the same vendor. So so you can have multiple contacts like that. Okay, with that out of the way, let's continue. So I have just given the important bits. I have not even added the address or anything like that because they are optional, but then sure. we actually need those details when we are drafting a proper order. But then for this case, yeah. Okay, I hope you can see my screen right now. Sorry about that. All right, so let's just go back. So what I'm doing is I have made a customer with minimum information. So I just entered the display name and the tax treatment for this client, and I have made it. I have not even added addresses, but then you can do so while creating your contact. Of course, as partners, you would be importing data into Zoho Inventory, right? So to import any data into Zoho Inventory, you will have to navigate to that particular module. So if you're importing items, then go click on items and then go to this place, items. And then you'll just have to click on this menu button right here, and you would be able to import items. Now, when it comes to importing anything, so similarly, if you can also import item groups. You can also import composite items. That is also possible. You can even import historic bundling data and such, if the customer is just migrating organizations within Zoho Inventory. Maybe they are moving into a new organization, or for some reason, or maybe they are just starting a branch. I don't know. So depending on that, you can basically bring in data for any module, be it customers, be it sales orders, purchase orders, etc. So you can do that. Now the order of import is something very important. I know I have to cover the sales and purchases, but this is even more important for you because you would be bringing in data. So I specifically want to cover that here. So many people have had this question. Even in fact, when I'm onboarding partners, the first thing they ask me is, okay, Ajay, how do I figure out or what is the right order to import data? Of course, there are some variations depending on the kind of data your customer has. I mean, your client has. But then what we can do is that I'm going to just give you a general order. So please pay attention to it and please note it down. So this is just going to be a general order. So when you are bringing in data, first thing, before you even bring in data, as I told you, you will have to set up your organization profile, bring in your users, create all the custom fields that you need inside of Zoho Inventory, and also make sure that you have all the currencies in, and make sure you have your taxes in. This is something that you'll definitely you will need to make sure before you bring in any data into Zoho Inventory. And then now when it comes to importing data, there are a couple of options for you. If your client already has some data inside Zoho CRM, then I would actually recommend you to just integrate Zoho Inventory and Zoho CRM before you do any import inside of Zoho Inventory, because all your your accounts, contacts, and your products, as well as your vendors, are going to be brought in from CRM if you do so. Similarly, if your client has an online shop on, say, Shopify, then in fact, integrating Zoho Inventory with Shopify would automatically bring in all the historic orders on Shopify, as well as the items on Shopify, as well as every single module. Then in that case, this is the order to follow. So what we'll do is first we'll bring in the items. So first, the thing is, if you have them as item groups, then bring them as okay. So the first thing that you will have to do is to import items. And then if you already have them as item groups, if you are just migrating from one Zoho Inventory organization to another, then importing them as item groups is the better option to go. So to import any data, just click on the module, click on the menu icon right here, and click on import. So once you do, there are 3 steps in importing any data into Zoho Inventory. So you have the configuration phase, you have the mapping fields phase, and then you have a preview phase. the sample file for each of these each data type is going to be available right here. So I suggest you to download the sample file and align your data based on the sample file. And this sample file is going to change depending on the edition you are in. There is also even a much better way to get an exact handle on things. That is by creating some dummy items, like 1 or 2 dummy items with different tax treatment or inventory treatment, and then you can just use that as a base, and then you can set up the item master and export that dummy items out to, and you can just use that file, open that file, and see how the data is organized inside of Zoho Inventory when you fill all the fields in using those 2 dummy items as test. So you can also do that. So you get in the data. So now for the order of data, so you have items first, next you can bring in the customers, and then the vendors. So when you're bringing in customers and vendors, it is very, very important to align your tax information. So it's going to be different for different editions, but obviously you will need to specify whether a customer or a vendor is taxable, and that if they are taxable, depending on your edition, some editions would require you to actually associate a proper tax rate with them. Or in case of, suppose if it's India, the place of supply is going to be important. If it's the UK, then yeah, the whether they are taxable or not, whether they are VAT registered or not, those kinds of information is going to be important. So you are required to pay attention to those fields within customers and vendors. After bringing in your items, customers, and vendors, then you start at the transactions. So when you look at transactions, so if you once you make sure that you bring in all the items. So after you have brought in all the items, then you have all the raw materials required for composite items. So you can also import composite items after that. And you can also import price lists. Price lists are nothing but something like price books, but then the only thing is you can create lists for all your items or for select items, and you can also specify the currency in which you want that price list to be. So these are, and you can apply discounts or markup prices at a massive level using the price lists. So you can also import that, and then after importing the composite item, if there are important, because when you do, automatically the incoming invoice will be mapped to the existing sales order which you had imported before importing the invoice. So that is there. And then import the rest of the sales transactions, so be it invoice payments, be it packages, shipments, all of that. Similarly, for the purchase section, you after bringing in the vendors, you can bring in and making sure you have all the items, then you can import purchase orders, and then purchase the bills, and then bill payments. So this is the order that you will need to follow. So this is something that you will have to really, really keep in mind. So I had to take a little bit extra. I had to deviate a little bit extra because this is very important for you as partners or as implementers of Zoho Inventory. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, let's just go ahead and add a vendor. So I'm just going to quickly make a sample vendor. So, oh my gosh. Okay, I think my screen went off. Okay, yeah, I think my screen is back. Sorry about this. Yeah, I have actually connected to LAN, but for some reason the connection is a little bit shaky, but I apologize for that. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and create a vendor. So I have it right here. So I just have a vendor. I'm just giving their name, then specified name. So VAT treatment, yeah, United Kingdom. So I have that, and if they have a number, then I can just specify the number. I'm just having some random number right now, but then yeah, you'll need to enter the proper ones. And whatever else you want to add, you can add all of that, and then you can just save this. So once you do, you have a vendor. So now I have added a customer and a vendor. Now I'm going to go in for a proper sales scenario. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sales order. So I can do that by clicking on the sales orders module and clicking plus. So once I do that, I'll just select the customer. So I have one customer, it's an end consumer, it's an individual, so it's not VAT registered. So I have the sales order number, the date. I can even give them something like a shipment date to tell them, when the goods will be shipped, so that they are informed of it. And then I can select the warehouse from which the items in this order would be shipped. So let me just quickly add some items to this particular order. Okay, so I have added two kinds of items, and for this example, I'm going to select the other warehouse. So as you can see here, when I switch the warehouse here, there are 0 pieces in this warehouse. And because I'm going to place this order on back order, this works fine for me. So when you don't have enough stock, but you can also change the warehouse at an item level. You can just specify, you can create an order in such a way that each of the items could be from a different warehouse or a different business location. So you can do that. So this is how you do. So you below the quantity, you have this warehouse icon. When you click on that, you will be able to switch warehouses. So yeah, so I have 0 pieces in this particular warehouse. And let's suppose that my client needs 10 pieces of one item and 15 pieces of the second item. So the rates are right here, the VAT rate, everything has been calculated automatically. And then I'm saving this as a draft. So this order is ready, and let's suppose I have emailed this order to the client. So I'm just manually marking this order as confirmed, but then in a real scenario, I would be emailing it to a client. Now I don't have stock, so automatically the system would alert me saying that I should place this on back order. 1 second. Okay, my screen is visible. All right. So I also have another option. So I can also mark this order for drop shipment. So I can also drop ship this order. So there are 2 options for me since I don't have stock right now. So I'm going to show you a back order scenario right now. So I'm going to back order. So when I do that, the items which are insufficient in stock are displayed here as a list. So I can just select all of the items, both, and the quantities are also here, and I can just click back order. When I do that, I'm taken to a new purchase order page, wherein I'll just have to specify the vendor. And since this guy is registered under VAT, so the treatment is going to be different. So the PO is right here, and I can also specify the warehouse to be delivered. The reason why this is locked right here is because on the sales order, this is the warehouse that we chose. So we'll be able to do that. So we'll be able to specify the warehouse that we can do so. We can also change the destination right here. So actually, I want it to be delivered to the second warehouse, to be precise. So I can always change the destination like so. So that is also an option. 1 moment. Let me refresh this for a bit. Reload. I think. Okay, I'll have to. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I have the purchase order details right here. And as you can see here, it clearly says that, I'll have to deliver these items to warehouse 2. As you can see here, the quantities, everything is done right here. And then I will save this as draft. So 1 moment. Yeah. When I refreshed it, actually that thing got done in. All right. Save this as draft. So I have the purchase order ready. So as you can see here, I had selected the second warehouse in Liverpool, and that warehouse has been selected, even though due to the network thing, you would have seen it as the first warehouse. I know that would have been a little bit confusing, but then it's a network issue. But as you can see here, my second warehouse in Liverpool, W2, is the location right here on the purchase order. So I'm approving this purchase order because I have an approval mechanism set in place. So I've approved this order, and because I am the admin of this org, so I can do that. And then I have marked this order as issued, or in other words, I have emailed this purchase order to my vendor. Now, before I receive the goods from the vendor, let's go back to the sales order. So you can see a special tab here called Associated Sales Orders. Okay, wait. Okay, my screen is still visible. Okay, good. So here I'm just clicking on that particular sales order. So it's taking me back to the sales order. And as you can see here, the status of the sales order is on hold because we have back ordered the items on this particular order. We don't have the stock yet. We don't have the item stock on hand yet to fulfill this particular order. So it's been frozen, and the associated back order is right here. So I'm going back to that particular purchase order, and I'm going to receive all of the items. So my vendor has shipped them, and I'm going to receive the items. So to do that, I'll just click on receive all, proceed. So auto generate received number, because it's always easy. The date, it will just automatically take today's date. If you have any notes, you can like record that here, and then you can just save this. So upon doing so, my purchase order has been received. As you can see here, the items in this particular purchase order has been received. And I have the receive right here. So this is a purchase receipt document basically. So as I told you before, it's a very simple goods receipt note. So not exactly a GRN, but then it's a simple representation of it. And you can also convert this purchase receipt into a bill. So basically, bill is nothing but a vendor invoice. So I'm going to quickly create one. As you can see here, the purchase order number is linked. The warehouse is also linked. So it's going to be W2 here. Yeah, because we got it in the second warehouse. And then I'm going to save this as draft. And yeah, since I have an approval mechanism in place, I have approved it. One moment. Okay, so let me just refresh that. Yeah, so it's an open bill, as you can see here. So this is a vendor invoice that's open. Okay, so and you can record any payments you make to the vendor. You can record it. You can specify the amount paid, the payment date, and the mode of payment. And yeah, so we have it, and then I'm going to save this. Once I do, the bill goes to a paid status. Depending on your payment terms or the payment terms that your vendor has given you, the particular bill or an invoice can also go to an overdue state, informing you that a client has been paid, or a vendor, or you are yet to pay a vendor, stuff like that. So you can do that. And there are also dedicated reports, customer balance reports and vendor balance reports that you can find, using which you can arrive at the same conclusion. Okay, now let's go back to that particular purchase order. So as you can see here, the items have been received, and the bill has been generated. The vendor bill has been recorded, and it also has been paid. So this purchase order goes to a closed status. So when we go back to the associated sales order, it was on hold for a while, but then now it has reached a confirmed state. So once it has reached confirmed state, the next step is going to be to create an invoice for this. So I'm just going to convert this into an invoice. Since this is a new organization, I'm seeing this window. This will not normally appear here because I did not fully configure the settings. So that's why I recommended to everybody here that you have to take care of your preferences before you start doing transactions. So yeah. Okay, since I did that, now I'm on the new invoice page. All the details from my sales order is available here, including the warehouse from which the items have to be taken. And then, yeah, you can also apply VAT on shipping charges. So using this option. And if there are shipping charges, and then, okay, let's just say you have 10 pounds shipping. And you can also apply VAT on shipping charges if there is any. I'm just doing it randomly this time. But then, yeah, if there are specific VAT rates apply to the shipping charges in your country or something like that, you can do so. So once that is done, you save this as a draft. And you can also, email the invoice. So I'm just marking this as sent. since this is a demo thing. So I have the invoice right here, and I can also, okay, so we have the invoice here. Now let's go pack and ship the item. All right. So I'm back to the sales order. And as you can see here, the invoice has been generated, shipment is pending, order is closed. So now what I'm going to do is I have the invoice, it has been emailed, and I'm going to make a package. I can either make a package from the packages tab, or I can create one using the create button. Let's make a package. So I'm just auto-generating the package number, date, and if you are using a barcode scanner, so as I mentioned earlier, what you're basically doing is if you store your barcode numbers for every item inside the SKU field, then you can just enable this, and then you can keep your cursor here, or you don't even have to click it. So you can just keep your cursor here. And when you use a barcode scanner, automatically the correct item will be added to the item table of the package. So this is why I asked you to do that. So I'm not doing that right now. So I have all the items, and then I'm just saving this. So I have a package, and now I'm going to ship it. When it comes to shipping packages, you have two options. So you can either ship manually, or you can ship via carrier. For this example, I'm going to demonstrate a manual shipment. So let's just ship manually. So I have the shipment order. So this, I would actually recommend you to go for the auto-generating numbers for every transaction. You just have to set it up once, and the system would actually, continue the progression like so. And for the carrier, yeah, in this case, I am doing my shipments. So yeah, have it. If you have a tracking ID, then you can also specify the tracking number here, and if there are any specific shipping charges, then yes, you can mention that like so, and save. So if you had stored the customer's email address while recording the client, then this option would be available to you. I did not, so this is this is not available to me. So if you do that, then you can also send out shipment status notifications by enabling this for that particular shipment. So I'm just saving this. So when I do that, I have a shipped package, and using this tracking ID, if you have integrated your Zoho inventory with Aftership, then you would be able to track the status of different shipments that you have made. But then, yeah, right now I haven't. So in my case, yeah, one second. Yeah, so let's just go back to Zoho Inventory. Yeah, let me refresh this. Okay, this is available, sorry. Okay, I'm just going to quickly swap organizations just for a little bit, then come back to the same organization. Okay, yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. So yeah, so let's just go back to that particular sales order. So as you can see here, when you open the order, the shipment, so the items have been shipped. Also, inside every module on the left top corner, you will have different filters. So you can literally, separate different orders. So if you have like sales orders on back order or frozen sales orders, you can find them under the back order filter, on hold. You have different filters right here. So you can use this to view only those orders that you want to, basically. So this is also there. All right, so now once the items have been shipped, and now we are going to deliver the items. So to do that, just go ahead to the package, and here you will have a button. So if your delivery guy is also a user of Zoho Inventory with limited permissions, let's say they just have access to packages, then in that case they'll be able to mark the shipment as delivered, and you can also send a delivery notification if you have added their email address. So once that is done, the shipment has been delivered. So with that, this particular sales cycle has been closed. Now we go back to the invoices. So the client has received both the invoice and the package. So they can make the payment either while receiving the package like COD, or or they would be able to make the payment beforehand. If you have integrated Zoho Inventory with any of the payment gateways, then in that case, you would be able to receive payments online. So what happens is that when you email an invoice to a customer, the customer would also receive a payment link, connected to your integrated payment gateway, using which they can click and pay or make payments to you. So that is an option that is worth exploring. So I have the invoice, and let's suppose they paid me offline. So in that case, I can record an offline payment. So I can specify the amount, the payment mode. If you have a reference number, if it's done by check or something, you can do that. Then you record the payment. Once you do that, the invoice would go to a paid state. So this is the entire sales and purchase cycle inside of Zoho Inventory. So what did we do? So what are the parts of a sales cycle? So you have a sales order, you make a sales order, you email it to a client, and then if you have stock, you pack them, you also make an invoice, and you also email the invoice to the client, and then you go back to the package and then you ship them, either manually or through a carrier. And then you can also, if you have the invoice, if you are integrated with an integrated payment gateway, then the status would automatically change if they made a payment using the gateway. If you haven't, then you can record the offline payment or right here. And then once the package gets delivered, so that is done. As for a purchase cycle, so we did a back order right here, but then a typical purchase cycle involves a purchase order. You email the purchase order to a vendor, and then the vendor would ship you the items and you receive the items. And you record that using a purchase receipt document. And then once you do that, you can convert it to a vendor bill, or you can also record a vendor bill for that order. And then once you make your own payments, you can record your payments as vendor payments against that bill. So this is the entire cycle. So with that, we have explored the sales as well as the purchase module in one go. When it comes to drop shipments, it's a little tricky. So speaking of drop shipments, the only difference is that the entire package and shipment module is disabled for you. So when you mark a sales order, so let's suppose I'm just cloning this order. I'm not going to take a lot of your time, but I'm cloning this order. So I have everything exactly the way it was with that particular order. I don't even have stock right here. So I'm just saving this order, and I'm also marking this sales order as confirmed. And then I'm going to drop ship this order. When I do that, so you have options. You can partially drop ship an order or fully. So I'm going to completely drop ship this order. So when I do that, what happens is that it will take me to a new purchase order page wherein I would select my vendor. Vendor would know automatically drop ship to my client because my client details will be populated here. And then I have my purchase order number, the items and everything. So I can just verify what needs to be done. And I'll need to specify an expected shipment date. This is something important because this will tell your vendor by when they should have the items shipped out, to the client, and when the items have to reach your client. So this is there, and you save this order. Once you do, and you can also, if you have approval mechanisms, just approve the order and issue the order or email the order, the PO, to the vendor. So once you do that, and once the vendor, so if you go back to the associated, sales order. So let me just quickly head back to the sales order. So in here, as you can see here, I have a confirmed order, but then there is a icon here that will tell me that it is under drop shipment. And since I have placed a purchase order, it will just say as shipped. These things are going to be, the package module will be disabled. So when I open this order, I will not be able to create any packages for this. So as you can see here, the option to create a new package is not here. Similarly, even here under the create button, the package option is disabled because your vendor will be packing the goods and shipping to your client. And now you can still create an invoice. So I'm just going with an instant invoice. So I have an invoice and I can just mark this invoice as confirmed or as sent. So this is a sent invoice. So let's suppose you have emailed the invoice to a client. Now your client has made an offline payment, or has made a payment to you, and you are just recording it. So your sales side of it is done. Now what you do is you go back and you also go back to the associated purchase order. And after your vendor has delivered the items to your client, they would be sending you an invoice. That is recorded as a bill. So all the details are like so. You'll just have to enter their bill number and then, save. So you have the the bill right here for this particular purchase order. And you can also similar to what I showed you before, you can record your own payments to the vendor like so. So with that, we actually complete a simple drop shipment inside of Zoho Inventory. So we have seen how to back order items, and we have also seen how to drop ship items. Similarly, straightforward purchases and sales can also be made in a very similar fashion. All right, so we have seen sales and purchases module. That leaves integration on our cards for today. So we still have, from the original 3-hour session, we have about 47 minutes on hand, and I promised that I would give you some time for questions, and I would also leave you 15 minutes early. So at the most, we can continue up to the next half an hour. So we have half an hour on hand, in which the first 15 minutes I'll be taking integrations, and the last 15 minutes I'll just keep the session open for questions. And then you can take a break and then get ready before the next session starts. You can have your lunch or something. Okay, so let's head back to integrations. So when it comes to integrations, this is a little tricky. So the integrations available to you potentially depend on your edition. So some editions have more sales channels than the others. Some of them have more shipping carriers than the others. So, and the payment gateways that are available to you is also going to change depending on your edition. So for example, so the UK edition is also going to have your eBay integration available. Whereas for India, you just have Etsy at the moment. We'll be adding more later, but then at the moment, we just have Etsy. But in case of shopping carts, everyone is going to have Shopify because that is available across all editions, similar to Etsy. So first thing on our cards is going to be, okay, before I continue, okay, my screen is visible and I hope I am still audible. All right. So let's just quickly hop into integrations. Okay, so I'm going to keep things simple here. So today we are going to look at 4 different things. However, due to the shortage of time, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework with one section. So we will be seeing integrations with different Zoho apps. We'll also see integration with online channels, and we'll also look at integrations with shipping carriers, and we'll see some other integrations that are available in Zoho Inventory. Except for the shipping carrier part, because the shipping carrier thing needs to be consumed patiently, and there are like some nuances when it comes to shipping carriers. So what I'll do is that I have a recommendation for you. I want you all to I'll be sharing a link with you once I'm done with the integrations. I have a video for you which is meant specifically for shipment integrations. You will see an integration with UPS or USPS, and that will show you the different steps in a typical shipping process. So even though it covers only one carrier over there, but then it'll give you a sample into how things will be for the other carriers as well. and there are more than 30 different carriers, so you get the idea. So I want you to watch that later after you complete your expense session. So that is homework for you, and questions for your certification will also come from that. So please don't fail to watch that video. All right, so let's start with Zoho apps. So for that, I'm going to be hopping back into Zoho Inventory. I've actually prepared some organizations just for that. So I'm going to be switching to another organization right here. Okay, and we are going to directly jump into integrations. So under integrations, you have various sub tabs. I'm going to be clicking on Zoho apps. So right here, I have all the different Zoho app integrations that are available. So to connect with CRM, so basically each of them will give me a certain functionality. So by connecting with CRM, I'll be able to have a two-way information sync. So wherein my accounts, contacts, products, and my vendors will be synced between the two. Additionally, you can also create sales orders, invoices, or purchase orders within CRM, and you'll be able to via a dedicated finance module, and you will be able to see those orders here and do the package and shipment inside of Zoho Inventory. Sign integration will allow you to sign your documents and transactions. Then you have Zoho Books. Basically, all the data you have in Zoho Inventory is going to be available in Zoho Books, meaning you can account for each and every transaction. And then you can also connect Zoho Analytics for advanced analytics and custom reports. So whoever wants to craft their own reports based on the data you have in Zoho Inventory, you can do that with Zoho Analytics integration. With Qlik, it's a little nifty in the sense all the notifications you see. So this is announcements, but then as you can see here, I have some item sync data. I have integrated some channel here. So as you can see here, that data is being available to me as notifications. So these kinds of notifications, as well as any online order that you get from a channel, those kinds of notifications can be pushed into a dedicated Qlik channel. So even if suppose you're a third party, if you are going through a 3PL, or if you have your items on consignment, and then you also have a web store, if you want those orders or the information of that being or at least your people be notified of those orders, then in that case you can use this integration to keep updated. So that is there. This is just for team members. And then you have Zoho Desk. So by connecting Zoho Inventory with Zoho Desk, what happens is that when you open a ticket inside of Zoho Desk, so basically that's our customer support software. So basically we use that. We respond to all our customers' questions and requests, even partner requests via Zoho Desk. And we also manage our community forums and all of that on that. So when you open a client's ticket, there is a ticket thread, and then you would be able to see all the associated orders, invoices, sales returns, etc. for that particular client inside of Zoho Desk itself. So there will be a separate interface, so you can do that. So these are some of the things that you can do. So for this session today, I'm just going to cover CRM, I'm going to cover books, and I'm going to cover analytics, because these three are going to be your bread and butter. The other things are on a case-by-case basis. So yeah, so to connect your CRM, you hit on the connect button, and then you will need to again select the connect button under section 1 right here. So when you do so, you will need to enter an email address, which is nothing but your email address inside of CRM. And then you will need a CRM ZSE key. So it's something like a Zoho security key. So you can generate one by clicking on here. I have already connected a CRM organization in a different tab. So I'm just going to open that. And as you can see here, these are the modules that will be integrated. Now, there are a couple of things that you will need to do before you even connect CRM and Zoho Inventory. This is especially necessary for you guys. So what you need to do is, first, inside of Zoho Inventory, you have to make sure that you have all the necessary custom fields under different modules, especially under items, customers and vendors, etc. Because CRM will have a huge chunk of data, and there's always going to be excess information inside of CRM. So if you want to bring in all that data into Zoho Inventory, and if there is data, or if you have some custom fields inside CRM, those fields need to be replicated inside of Zoho Inventory even before you connect CRM and Zoho Inventory. So you will need to add all of them under the field customization tab of preferences for items and for customers and vendors. So by doing so, when you connect the two, you will be able to map those fields and do that. So this is inside of Zoho Inventory. Inside of CRM, you will need to do two things. One is that if you have like a specific, if you don't want to sync all of your data into Zoho Inventory, then you can create a specific view and you can sync that view. And number two, you are required to create a specific custom field for your contacts in CRM, a checkbox type custom field called primary contact. And after you have made that inside CRM, I want you to enable that only for those contacts under your accounts which are primary. Doing so will automatically sync the primary contact inside CRM to the primary contact inside of Zoho Inventory. And this will save you a load of questions and pain points later. So please do that. Please remember that before you set up CRM. I have written a detailed help document for that. So please check out the help document inside of Zoho Inventory's resources, wherein you have the steps. You have it will tell you exactly what you need to prepare before you integrate CRM and Zoho Inventory. Please follow that. It's really important. Okay, so I have connected an organization already for you. So I have it right here. I have it on another tab. So as you can see here, I have connected it. And when I go to the details, yeah, so my information is right there. And as you can see here, I have, so if I, during the connection, after you have given your email address and ZSE key, and when you hit on connect, the next page is the next step in CRM integration is going to be configuring different modules. So in my integration, I have connected both accounts and contacts. And I have also included contacts that are not associated with any accounts in CRM. Of course, there will be individuals that you network with who may not be a part of any organization. So they'll just be, contacts inside Zoho CRM. So that is done. And then I have selected a two-way sync. And then here is the main thing. So you would be able to clone your data inside CRM. But if you select this option, then you're going to have some duplicates within Zoho Inventory and CRM, especially if you sync them both ways. So only if you are going for a one-way sync, I would recommend this. If not, then please don't go for this. The overwrite option is kind of permanent. So when you connect the two, if you select the overwrite option, be it for your customers, be it for your vendors, or be it for your items, if you select that, you cannot change this after you have done it once. So, but this is recommended when you're doing a two-way sync. But make sure that your client has the proper user roles set up both in CRM and inventory, because if somebody is going to botch some data in one of these apps, it's going to affect both the apps. So that is there. And then there is also the skip option. And this is what I was talking about when I told you that you can specify a separate view. So if you have a custom view inside CRM, that view will be visible here. I don't have one, so that's why you are not seeing it. But then, yeah, you can do that. And then the fields. So if you already have custom fields, they are going to be available right here. So as you can see here, this is connecting my customer with accounts and contacts inside Zoho CRM. So that's why the account information is synced right here. So you'll be able to map different fields accordingly. So you can do that. And then similarly, the contacts inside CRM is equal to contact persons in Zoho Inventory. So that's what I told you before. So that particular information is going to come right here. And any custom field you add is going to be at the bottom. So this is very, very, very important. And as I told you here, Zoho Inventory has something called is primary contact. So if you make a custom field called primary contact inside CRM, then you can map that data and you can choose, you can like proactively choose the most interacted contact in CRM, and you can, name them as the primary contact inside Zoho Inventory by default. So all communications will be going to your primary contact. If you don't do that, then you'll have to select the contact person every single time when you draft an invoice or an order, which is going to be a pain. So please make sure of that. So once you do, you just hit save and sync and it's done. So it's very similar for all the three modules. So I want you to explore that and come back to me with questions. And when you integrate Zoho Inventory with CRM, so I'm inside CRM right now. So as you can see here, so you would be able to do different things, like all your sales, purchase, especially your vendors, your items, and your contact information is going to be available here. And on top of that, when you go to CRM settings, and when you actually go to one second, when you actually go to integrations inside CRM, you will be able to set up how this functions. Especially you would be able to enable a specific module for Zoho Inventory, because by doing that you will be able to draft sales orders, purchase orders, and vendors, and as well as invoices, and you can push them inside of Zoho Inventory. So you can do that from the integrations under settings of CRM. So that is something that I really, really recommend doing so. So as you can see here, even inside of Zoho Inventory, you have sync transactions module. So you have invoice, sales order, purchase order. So if I enable this, so I can do this from inventory itself. So when I do that, this would be enabled. So the page would refresh once more. Yeah. So once this is done, you would be finding a specific module inside of Zoho CRM, which would actually allow you to do that. It's still syncing, but then yeah, you should somewhere see something called as a Zoho Finance or a Zoho Inventory module, which would be either in the drop down or somewhere up top. So once that is available, then you would be able to create sales orders, purchase orders, and invoices right from here. All right. So when you do that, those orders are going to be available within Zoho Inventory. So this is for CRM. Okay, how much time do we have? Okay, not much. Okay, chop. Let me quickly go ahead and take care of the other ones. Okay, the screen is still available. All right, so similarly, you have other integrations. So when it comes to books, actually it's pretty straightforward. All you need to do is when integrating Zoho Inventory or Zoho Books, you will need to set up one of them first. You don't have to set up both of them, because the organization is common between the two. So I recommend first setting up either one of them. So you can either start from books or you can start from inventory, set it up fully, and then go to the integrations module and select Zoho apps, and go near books. And then here, before, right now I have access because I have already connected it. But before this, you will just have like a connect button adjacent to it, or a similar access button adjacent to it. And when you hit on that, it will immediately take you to a new window wherein the books part of inventory would be enabled. You will just need to configure some additional modules. And once you do that, you will be able to connect it. It's very, very straightforward. Okay. It's like, you're just enabling something, and then it's like, bam, and the data inside of Zoho Inventory is available to you like so. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. And all right, it's all right, but then you will be able to see all the data that I have inside of Zoho Inventory. So for example, okay, let me go to the sales order module right here in this organization. So as you can see here, I have a bunch of data right here. The same data is going to be visible inside of Zoho Books. And you would be having access to all the Zoho Books module for the same data. And you would be able to file, if you are in the Indian edition, you would be able to file GST, or if you're in the UK edition, you would be able to export your tax reports and such. So that is going to be pretty valuable to you. With that out of the way, then when it comes to analytics, it's yet another nifty integration. So to connect analytics, I have actually done a full-length webinar on analytics, and I have also specified, I have also given you, along with my teammate from the analytics team, we have demonstrated, we have built 5 reports, and we have shown you how to build those reports. It's there on our YouTube channel. You can go ahead and check that. But then this is how the integration page would look like. So basically what happens is that when you connect analytics with Zoho Inventory, it will first ask you to specify the modules that you wish to sync with analytics. And when you select any particular module, it will show you all the data types that are being synced with Zoho Analytics. You can also select all of the information and then push it inside Zoho Analytics for any given module. And because I have connected Zoho Books, you have additional data here. As you can see here, the general sections under analytics are going to be your general data, your purchase data, your sales data, and your inventory data. The expense data and the other modules are actually extras that I got from books, because I have integrated Zoho Books as well. And analytics being a platform that can kind of like pull in data from multiple sources and then combine it to give you a cohesive or tangible things that you can use, actionable reports. So based on the number of sources you connect to analytics, the amount of data or the data types available to you in here is going to increase. And you can also specify the sync time and other things like so. So this is Zoho Analytics, and since I have already linked this particular account with my Zoho Analytics, I'll just quickly show you how it looks like. So I'm just inside the integrations module. And when I click on Access Zoho Analytics, okay, so as you can see here, this is how my reports are going to look like. So I actually made some, custom dashboards and custom reports. So you'll be able to view all of that under here. So as you can see here, this is the dashboard wherein I consolidated all the custom reports that we built together in that webinar. So you have a YTD ABC analysis report based on inventory data, a YTD year-to-date sales report, a sales forecast, a sales by region report, and you also have a return analysis report. And then there are also some other reports that we added to this dashboard. So you would be able to bring in data from Zoho Inventory and then push it. We actually we pushed 3 years worth of data into this particular integration. So you can do that. You can pretty much do that, and you can do a lot more, in fact. So this is something that I want you to play around and come back to us with questions. Now we are going to look at sales channel integration. So that is one thing that I would like to cover before taking your questions. Also, like before I do that, so we have integrations with these are the other apps that we have integrations with. Avalara is limited to the US, but apart from that, you have Slack integration. You can also connect your Gmail or G Suite to bring in your contacts. So the contact list you have in your Gmail will be brought in to Zoho Inventory, and you can bring them as customers or vendors and such. And then you can also connect your Office 365 or Outlook basically to again bring in your contacts as well as your users into Zoho Inventory. And then you can also connect Crossfire EDI for some, if you're working together with 3PL users, 3PL vendors and such. So this is going to be pretty useful for you. So now let's go ahead and look at a sales channel or a shopping cart integration. So as you can see here in this organization, I have already integrated with Amazon, and I have also enabled FBA. But in our case, for the people who are attending this particular session, you're not going to be looking at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into another organization wherein I have integrated Shopify and Etsy and all of that. So just a moment. Yeah. So these two integrations are going to be pretty important for you. So I'm just going to directly go ahead and click the active channel. So as you can see here, I have set up an integration already. So when setting up this integration, basically what happens is it will ask you to validate who you are. So you will need to typically log in to your account, and then you will be able to, once you connect your store to Zoho Inventory, and then you will be able to sync different modules. So basically what you will be syncing is that you will be syncing your item listings from the sales channel into Zoho Inventory, and any item that you don't have inside Zoho Inventory will be added as a new item. If you already have existing items, then you will need to make sure that the SKUs, or at least the names, one of these two or both, according, like whichever works for you, so that has to match with the existing items in Zoho Inventory. So if you already, let's suppose you have already imported the item for your client inside Zoho Inventory, and now you're connecting an online channel, and in that case, please ensure that your item name or SKU on that channel, or at least inside Zoho Inventory, is equivalent to like it's the same as the other one. So you'll need to make sure that the SKUs or the item names match. Doing so will automatically map these two, so you don't have to work on any manually importing them or manually mapping them. If you don't do that, then they will be brought in as unlisted items, and you can still manually map them one by one to the existing items inside Zoho Inventory. So that is there. And then you will also be bringing in sales orders, which can be then packed and shipped inside of Zoho Inventory, and the shipping status will be communicated to your integrated channel. Also, Zoho Inventory will be the master of stock. So if you are making purchases inside Zoho Inventory, or if you are adjusting the value or the stock inside of Zoho Inventory, especially the stock, forget the value, but the stock. So if you're making any stock adjustments, that change is going to be reflected instantly inside of all integrated channels. So this is what you have with regards to connecting a marketplace or a shopping cart. With Shopify, you can actually connect multiple stores. So to add any store or to even integrate with Shopify, what you need to do is you will just have to paste your store URL and hit connect. Doing so will take you to a new page wherein you would be asked to log in to your store inside of Shopify, and then you would it'll tell you, there'll be a terms and conditions thing and all that. Just read through it and then validate it, and once you do, the system will evaluate your choices and accordingly integrate Shopify with Zoho Inventory. So you can connect up to a maximum of 10 Shopify stores to Zoho Inventory. So if your client has dedicated stores for each offering that they have, then yeah, you can do that. You can manage them all from a single Zoho Inventory organization. And when you do connect any online sales channel, you are obviously going to get notifications whenever an order gets synced or an item gets synced, but the orders are also going to be visible inside Zoho Inventory. And to view them, there is a dedicated filter. So just click on the left top corner and then select marketplace. When you do that, you would just view the marketplace orders, and accordingly you can fulfill them. So the fulfillment process is pretty similar to what you have already seen for during the back order process I showed you. So this actually summarizes the integrations with regards to Zoho Inventory. So this is something that you really have to keep in mind. And there are I have made specific videos for sales channel integrations, shipping integrations, as well as Zoho Analytics integrations. So please go to our YouTube channel and watch them before you take the test, which would be in some days. In a few days, you will be receiving a test, and you'll have to finish that test to be certified. So please watch those videos before you take that. For example, I actually have my YouTube opened here. So this is the title, 3 order fulfillment methods to try at least once. This particular video will show you how to integrate with a shipping carrier inside of Zoho Inventory. This has that. Similarly, we also have other videos within the channel. So as you can see here, so multiple Shopify store integration is covered here. If you want to integrate multiple online sales channels, you can find it over here. And then there are other integrations that you can use. And there is also this particular video on 5 must-have inventory reports, which I really want you to watch and come back to me with questions, because this is going to this is a huge opportunity that you can tap into, especially if your client has a lot of requirements. All right, I think I ran a little bit fast in the end, I know, owing to lack of time. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but then I'm going to start taking some questions that you may have for me. And then I want to actually, in fact, I want to leave you by within another 5 to 10 minutes max. But then, yeah, I want to leave you early so that you can be ready for the next session. So I've stopped sharing my screen. So I'm going to look at questions. So whichever questions are unanswered, I'm going to be looking at that. Oh yeah, yes, I can give you links to all the YouTube videos. In fact, I'll do one thing. So just give me a minute.